Okay friends, welcome back. In this module, we will be looking at two different types of inheritance, two most complex types of inheritance. One is called multiple inheritance, the other one is called virtual inheritance. We have already seen the different types of inheritance and how they are used. Multiple inheritance is a typical case which is not provided by other languages. Almost all languages provide inheritance, because inheritance is a basic feature of any object oriented programming language, but not multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance is where more than one class inherits into a single class. For example, an Indian cricketer is a class which inherits from Indian as well as a cricketer class. A softball inherits from soft toys as well as balls. Okay. So, it contains attributes of both the classes together. Now, you will find many such things in real world. So, you may be surprised why languages do not provide, and when C++ provides this multiple inheritance, people taught that thing as a bad feature. They say that this is not a good feature to provide, and languages should refrain from providing it, and they are right to some extent. But let me tell you again, the power of C++ is that the freedom is yours. You decide what to do, you decide whether it is good or bad, you decide in which situation seemingly bad thing can work for you and solve the problem that otherwise not possible to be solved. So, multiple inheritance is also like that, is provided to you, and you will have to use sparingly, then do it, but when it is provided, you have that power. Other languages just do not provide that. So, you do not have that power. Okay. One more similar example is a pointer. C++ gives you that pointer. Now, you can use that pointer to crash the program or do it in a most efficient way, is your choice, and that is the power with you. So, same thing is here. Multiple inheritance is also provided as a feature which is little delicate. If you know how to handle it, is great, but if you do not know, you can create a mess out of it. It is very complex actually. There are two options to look from this look. One is to look from the angle of a designer of a compiler. A compiler designer has to manage, whenever there is a multiple inheritance, compiler designer has to manage it actually. Compiler has to intervene, find out cases where it has to intervene and modify the object code. So, that is the compiler point of view, and the designer point of view also. Whenever somebody is designing a system and whenever the system allows multiple inheritance, there are few problems created, and a designer has to answer at least acceptable answers to the person who is using that program, and which is complex, and we will see what is complexity. We will see how it is implemented, and when you talk about implementation, it has that compiler relation, and there is something called double copy of multiple inheritance based classes that we will see, and the solution is called virtual inheritance, that is also virtual inheritance, which we will see next. Okay, let us start with the same stirred class that we have seen in the previous module. I do not think I should talk further about this, but we have one more class called sports person. Okay. A sports person will have four things: a sport that he plays, the events that he has taken part inside, the experience and the age. Now, fine, I have just assumed these four attributes, you may decide your own. Point is just this: I want to have a class called sports student, which inherits from two different classes. One is called a student class, the other one is a sports person class, and that is why I am doing it. I could easily have defined one class called cricketer, the other class from Indian, and then combine both of them into Indian cricketer. So, you can do anything of that sort and nothing is a problem, and I do not need again this again there are four attributes and I am having a constructor. That is the only thing I am defining in the class to make it extremely simple. Now, I have this multiply inherited sports students class. See that the sports stirred class publicly inherits from sports person as well as stirred. Now, this order is very important. The order, this is the order in which my sub objects are inserted in the body. If I change this, the sub object places will change, and if that order does not make much of a sense to you, much of a sense to the code that you are going to write, you can change the order if you wish, no problem. In most cases, will not make any difference. Okay. And then, but this multiply inherited class also has some additional features too actually. What are the sports related subjects that this person is taking? and what are the points that he has earned out of the matches that he played or whatever. So, these two things are common for the sports students. Okay. So, that is added here, and you can see that this constructor that I am calling will have constructor for sports person, stud, and then the remaining. So, it has to call both of them, and I am calling stud before and sports person later, though the order is different here, that is allowed, no problem. I am constructing this stud object before this, absolutely fine, no problem, but the order in which they are there in the derived class is in most cases it is so. Remember, there is no compulsion, there is no standard how it is implemented, it is based on how C++ object model, but in most cases it is so, it will follow this and not this in which the constructors are called, and you can see that other two elements are initialized here. Okay. Now, this is defining an object, sports stud j, and you will have this for as a student, this thing, this 3 are sports person and this. Now, I can provide any argument here, it depends how I am going to call. So, you can see that first 4 arguments are used to call the first constructor of stud, next 4 are used to call sports person constructor, and the last 2 for this thing, the object itself. Okay. So, this is how it is called. This multiple inheritance, where I inherit a sports student class from a stud class and a sports person class, entities which inheritance naturally from more than one entity. Now, it is quite possible that you can write a program without doing it. Then if you have an option, in most cases the solution without multiple inheritance is little better. As I said, language facilitates the programmer to implement it easily in case of C++, some other languages like Java does not support. So, you can't do it directly, you will have to like do it in some indirect way, and not always easy to do that. So, language, the code becomes complex if you really want to implement multiple inheritance in Java, because it is really your need, you will have to do it in a very complex way. Okay. So, it is very complex part, unlike that C++ can do it almost effortlessly, and it is basically a complex thing and makes the program hard to debug. So, it is advised not to use when you do not really need. What are the issues? I talked about 2 different issues. It is touted as a bad feature for 2 reasons. One is compiler related problems, the other is design related problem. Okay. It introduces overhead at compilation time, makes the compiler to work harder, and resultant code may be quite complex. So, there is a code bloat. The performance obviously will depend on the length of the program sometimes, especially when you are talking about embedded objects and IoT objects and where the memory footprint is less. So, the length of the program sometimes is a very serious issue. So, code bloat, code size bloat. The exact layout of the derived class is based on how these base classes are inherited. Usually, the first base class comes first and second base class comes second, and so on. Extracting some part of the derived class requires the calculation of the offset where those base class object is. Okay. Just let us take the example to understand what I am trying to convey. I have a class called base, and there is a derived from base and then dd from derived. Now, this is a case of further inheritance. This is a base class which inherits into derived class, which inherits into dd class. In this case, you have a base class 1, there is a base class 2, and both of them inherits into a derived class. Okay. So, this is MD. Interestingly, this thing is quite natural, this is not. Let us try to see why I am calling this is not natural. Okay. In the derived, suppose dd object, this is the dd object which has the derived class object, which in turn has the base class object. Now, if I have a dd class out of which I want to take the derived class, I can just start from here and pick up the length. If I want to get the base class, I will start from here and pick up this and I will get the base class. I do not need to do much. I will just use this pointer and the pointer will automatically get me the data according to the size. The int pointer will get me 4 bytes if the integer is 4 byte, character will get me 1 byte character pointer, and object pointer will give me the size of the object actually. So, that is not at all a problem. It is not the case here. Now, this is MD objects size, this thing, and is a base class 1 and a base class 2. Now, if I want to get base class 1, it is here. Base class 2, I can't start from here, I will have to move here and take it. So, the base class 2 does not start from the place where the MD objects start. In this case, both derived and base class objects start from the very place the DD object is. It is not the case here. Only when the base class is the first base class, it is the same as the multiply derived class. All other cases, here it is only 2, if there are 5, all rest 4 will not start with the same address. Now, what is the consequence of this? The consequence of this is understood if you look at this code. I define an object of DD class, which in turn contains object of derived, which in turn contain the object of base. Now, I say that P base pointer B, which is pointing to this. Now, this is the pointer. I say that my pointer to base class is pointing to derived class. Now, remember this type will decide the size. So, I do not need to, compiler do not need to do anything, will access this base class sub object. P derived star the, now you can see that this is the pointer and will access this part. So, the pointer value written from address to ODD is the very one. So, the compiler do not need to change anything here, and that is not true here. When I say that MD OMD, what will happen? I am defining object here, which has base class sub object here, base 1, and this is base 2. Now, when I write this B1 equal to this, fortunately the address is same. So, the compiler does not need to intervene and do not do anything, it assigns that value and forget. But if I write this, it is a problem, because this address, my OMD is this, okay, and P base 2, I want to get this object out of this thing. So, the user may write this, but the compiler cannot provide this. Compiler will have to add an offset to it and change it this. Okay. If I have base 2, base 3, base 4, base 5, compiler will need to add additional points, okay, add the offset value. Okay. The compiler needs to. So, that is the problem, which I talked about. The compiler need to intervene and add an offset. Okay. When you talk about design, there is one more problem. The problem is like this. I just take an example. There is, okay, let us see how it show on the screen. Okay, I have an object called Fifi, is an ostrich actually, is a pet bird. So, it inherits from two classes, pet bird and ostrich. Now, you probably think why I talk about Fifi and pet bird and ostrich. Fine, if you know a bit about AI, probably you will find that Fifi is an AI bird, and almost all AI books will have it, and the book which does not have it probably is not an AI book. Anyway, joke apart, is an interesting thing. Okay. So, Fifi actually represents a case which is both at the same point of time, is multiply inherited object. Now, if you start from Fifi and travel this, pet bird is a bird. So, it actually is inherited from bird. Ostrich has its own attributes, again is a bird, but then it has its own attributes. Now, suppose if you ask a question whether Fifi can fly, if you travel this line, pet bird has no attribute of that. When you travel bird, you get an attribute which is saying it is fly. So, the fly value will be yes if you travel on one line using one base class sub object, you get answer that the Fifi can fly. If you travel on this line ostrich, the ostriches won't fly and the answer is no. So, you get two different answers if you travel through two different links. Now, that is a very common problem in case of multiple inheritance. Okay. AI deals with all these issues and you will find lot of discussion about that, but whenever you design classes which inherits from multiple classes, it is quite possible that traversing two different base classes you get two different answers, and many a times it is not possible to judge anything. In this case, it is possible to be solved, because again you can see that you get an answer from a general and specific classes, and normally the answer that you get from specific classes have more precedence. So, looking at this you can decide that Fifi can not fly actually, but in many other cases it is not so, because there is no such relation here. I do not want to deal with again design, but you can see that there is a problem, there is a possible problem with multiple inheritance. Whenever you are inheriting from multiple classes, it is possible that you get two different answers from two different lines of inheritance. So, that is a design issue. Okay. How to determine which answer is valid is a question. There are some mechanisms proposed, but not every mechanism is foolproof. Okay. So, that is the problem with multiple inheritance, and that is the reason why implementing multiple inheritance is not recommended unless you really need it. Let me again reiterate the point that is a power given to you. Now, you will have to use it sparingly. Okay. Now, this is the other interesting problem. Suppose if I have a class called base which inherits itself into derived 1 and derived 2. We have already seen that a single class can be inherited in multiple classes. So, it is done. Now, we have one more class which is multiply inherited from these two classes. Both of them also contains a object of derived. Now, this is a case where I have a base class which inherits into a derived 1 class which contains a base class sub object, also inherits into derived 2 class which has a base class object. Now, I am inheriting both of them here, in a way inheriting two base class sub objects into one. Okay. This may not be a problem, let me tell you, because these two objects are of same type, they are not the same object. Okay. They are not same, they are same type. Okay. So, for example, if I have two classes, okay, that I have a class called scroll, inherits into a vertical scroll and a horizontal scroll, and inherit into screen scroll. In screen scroll, I have a vertical scroll as well as the horizontal scroll. That is absolutely fine. I can have two instances of the same object in my class, absolutely no problem. If I need it, I do not mind. For example, one more example, if I have a face class, face is not a great example, but then let us take that example. Face, I have two eyes. Now, two instances of the same object in a single class, but then it is fine, is basically part of it. So, it is absolutely fine. So, having two different instances of the same object in a given object is not necessarily a problem. It may be sometimes, that is why we are going to talk about. So, in those cases where it is a problem, we need to make sure that only one copy of that is inherited. So, that bloat part is mitigated to some extent. Okay. So, this is what I have talked about in the beginning. You have a base class. Okay. So, when you have a derived 1 class and a derived 2 class, both inherit from it, both of them will have base class sub object in the beginning. So, their objects are of this type, and when both of them multiply inherits into the multiple derived class, this is the first derived 1 object, this is derived 2 object, and you can see that there is a base class sub object being part of both of them. And if you do not want this, if you do not want the copy of this very base class into this, okay, you need to define that thing as a virtual class. But anyway, before that, let us try to understand. Suppose if this class defines a variable called bent as a member. Now, the very member is available in derived 1, very member is available in derived 2, there is no problem. I can still say derived 1 dot b int, derived 2 dot b int is absolutely fine, I can address them. But now there are two b ints, so there is a problem. I cannot just say MDD OMD object and cannot say OMD dot b int, because I cannot do this, because it is ambiguous. There are two copies of b int, so I cannot do it. I will have to write it in this fashion. dd dot, instead of writing direct b int, we say that it is something which is part of derived 1 object or derived 2 object, and they are separate. As I have seen that there are two different copies of the base class sub object, I can assign this to 0 and this to 1, both of them are absolutely fine. They are different values, different objects. Okay. Okay. So, if you write that thing directly, will confuse the compiler. So, we will not have it, will. Okay. So, that is the problem. So, if you write this thing is good, because it is part of derived 1 class, you are specifically telling. So, this thing is not allowed, is ambiguous. So, we will not be using it, not allowed. If you use it, the program will not compile. As I said, the scroll case which I just talked about, there is a variable called int position. It is like the b int case which we talked about. Now, here there are two values of position, but it makes lot of sense for us. For example, scroll contains position, we have a virtual scroll and we have a horizontal scroll, two of them, and screen scroll contains both virtual as well as the vertical as well as the horizontal scroll. Okay. So, I have a vertical position of the scroll as well as the horizontal position. I can specify both of them and I can manipulate both of them at the same point of time, absolutely no problem. So, here multiple inheritance is absolutely fine, I do not need virtual inheritance. Okay. Virtual inheritance is where I would reduce that multiple instances of base class sub objects into a single one. Okay. Now, the difference, remember derived 1, earlier I used to say public base, derived 2 public base. Now, I either write virtual after public or before public, the same thing. I am inheriting, I am telling the compiler that if ever this class is inherited further, make sure there is only one copy of the base class, okay, and compiler will have to take care of it. So, and then this multiply derived class, when I do this, I can actually write b int, because there is only one copy, there is no multiple copies now. Derived 1 b int is the same as derived 2 b int, the same copy, there is only one copy. So, these three statements actually assigning value to the same variable, okay, and if you display all three of them, you will get the same answer. In fact, if you remember the previous diagram, so far this part remains the same. Here there was one base class here which is now not there, only one base class sub object, and both this derived 1 and derived 2 is written here, great. So, it helps us saving the space. Okay. So, the virtual inheritance is a great thing for saving a space, but then does it work otherwise? No, in fact, it is unless you need, you should not be doing it, because that adds some problem elsewhere. Let us try to understand what is the problem. If I derived 2 class this thing, sorry, it is star PD, okay. So, that means it is a pointer to derived class, MD, this is an object of multiply derived class and there is a base class pointer. Okay. So, you have a derived 2 class and a pointer to a pointer, you are defining two of them, you are defining a multiply derived which contains a derived 1 and derived 2, and that is why there is a base class here. Okay. Now, if I say that PB this thing, now this is the derived 2 part. Okay. Now, I use a base class pointer to point to this, it is actually address of OD2 is this, but the base class is elsewhere, the compiler needs to offset this and make it point here. A little more complex problem is here, this thing is made to point to this derived to object. Okay. Base class pointer is derived to object. Now, derived to object contain both parts. So, this pointer actually whenever you are using this pointer, some part of that is here, some part of that is here. So, it is basically a single object which is scattered now. In older case there was a base class here itself, though there is a single copy. Now, you are addressing that object, but in a scattered fashion. The user will continue to write his own code, the compiler will have to interpret and understand whether it is this part or that part and add and offset and make sure that it works consistently. So, it is a harder part. Okay. So, PB is not okay, sorry, PB is not a problem. PB is here because I only want pointer to base class. Is only base class, then it is not a problem, but when you are talking about a pointer to derived class, yes, it is scattered and you will have to deal with both the part separately. Okay. So, that is the most complex this thing. Okay. Before we conclude discussion about the multiple and virtual inheritance, which is very complex thing, implementation is equally complex. I will be talking about in fact how C++ object models implements all this multiple inheritance and virtual inheritance at the end of this discussion, but I am only throwing some light on the complexities. If you want to really learn about that, there is a good book by Lippmann, I have forgotten the first name, but Lippmann is a very good book, C++ and inside the C++ object model, which talks about the complexity, various ways in which the virtual base classes are implemented, and you will be able to see the complexities involved. Anyway, this thing is one of the most critical thing, the order of constructor and destructor calls. Okay. So, when the base class constructor, the derived class must provide one. Suppose if there is a base class constructor and you are inheriting into a derived class, remember the constructor of derived class requires to call that base class constructor in the beginning. If you do not provide, how will you call that? That is a problem. Okay. So, that is why you need that derived class. If you do not provide, actually the compiler will provide on its own. If you do not call, if you do not have a derived class constructor yourself, compiler will have to do it, and why that is done again we will talk about when the discussion on object model will take place. The constructor of all base classes in the inheritance chains are executed in exactly the same sequence. We said that public x, public y, public z, then x will be this thing executed first, y next and z next, but then there is an exception. If one of them is a virtual, that will take place before then others. Obviously, because if you pick up that virtual first, you will be able to make sure that the double copy is not made. Okay. So, this if you have defined class D1 as public B, class D2 as public D1 and so on. So, the constructors, so if you define this, the constructors of B, D1, D2 are called in that sequence. Okay. When the object is destroyed, they are called in reverse order. With that note, friends, we conclude our discussion on inheritance. We have looked at in this particular module, we have looked at two most complex types of inheritance, multiple and virtual inheritance. We have seen that both the features are complex, not only complex, they demand more work from designer, more work from compiler as well. So, if you can write code without them, nothing better. If you need, there is a power given to you by the C++ designer, unlike other languages, you have this power. If you can use it sparingly, you can make your program do something which others cannot do. Okay. With that note, we conclude, friends. Thank you all.